still blows my mind that the mainstream media is giving little or no attention to the innocent lives that have been lost in the riots / protests, not to mention the 400 police officers that have been sent to the ICU. One of the people that we talked about in one of my earlier videos, he was the 77-year-old security guard, retired police lieutenant, who was guarding a pawn shop was it Saturday night? I don't think it was Saturday night. One of the nights during the riots in St. Louis, a man shot and killed him. He died in the streets. His death was live streamed. Really, really awful, disgusting thing. Well, a man has been charged and is now in police custody with the murder. I don't want to show his picture. What I do want to show is I saw some footage on a local news station of David Dorn's son, and he had a few words to say.
And I looked at the phone number. It was my brother, and he called me just crying and bawling and like, they shot and killed Dad. They shot and killed Dad.
It is the call every police family dreads, and it happened to Brian Powell, the son of retired St. Louis Police Captain David Dorn, also a husband, father, and grandfather. The 77-year-old was working security outside Lee's pawn shop Monday night when he was shot and killed by a looter.
A numbing feeling that came over my body, and I just like, wow. I just couldn't believe I was in total disbelief.
Dorn was a powerful force in law enforcement with more than 4 decades of experience, first with the city.
They called him Cap. That was Cap. Everybody knew that was him.
And shortly after retirement, he became chief of Moline Acres. His son says Dorn was less about title and more about helping young people. He says the very kind of people responsible for the acts of violence Monday evening.
My dad, he's a forgiving soul, so he would have forgiven that person and try to talk to him because he's real big on trying to talk to youth and mentor young people as well. So he tried to get them on the straight and narrow and everything. The person that pulled the trigger, my message to them would just simply be just step back from what you're doing. Know the real reason that you're protesting. Let's do it in a positive manner. We don't have to go out and loot and do all the other things.
Interesting thing about these protests and riots are that since the riots and protests have started, and I'm saying riots and protests and not protests specifically, or not riots specifically, because one of the people that died in a protest and was shot by a protester. That's the 22-year-old girl. So that was at a peaceful protest. She was not in the middle of a riot, in the middle of people looting late at night after she was supposed to be home. She was at a protest. I don't understand the logic behind being in the streets and marching for the life of one man without being able to acknowledge the 13 lives that were lost since all of these have started. And if you look at the numbers, last year, 9 unarmed black men were killed by police officers. In the whole year, 9. Since these protests have started, protests and riots, 13 people have died. You let that marinate in your head for a little bit. But thank you for watching. I wanted to share his son. What is his son's name? Brian Powell was his son. I think they had some beautiful words and could teach us a thing or two about how to move forward. All right, thank you guys.